Alrighty. Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. The title for today's teaching is Abide and Dwell. A couple of verses that hopefully we'll get to is Philippians chapter 4, verse 8, and James chapter 1, verse 25. And the date. What is the date today? The date is November the 10th, 2022. Hi, Tiffany. Glad you could join us tonight. What a blessing. We know it's going to be a good time now. Tiffany's here. Woot, woot. And I would imagine Dee's going to be here at some point. And Renee, the one Renee. Hey, there's Bob. And maybe Irma as well somewhere. So hello to you, sir. D should be here. Everything that I had seen from her was that she was going to be here. The one Renee was going to miss today because she had some other training that she was doing, finishing that up. And who knows? Who knows who else is going to be tuning in? So I say hello to all of you. And thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Bob, for commenting that you are here. With that, let's jump into this. With the title being Abide and Dwell, we can go through what we had for definitions, because this is coming off of last week with the title Home Sweet Home. So we already looked at what the dwell, what does that mean? A definition or some of the definition of dwell. And it's to settle, inhabit, to house permanently, live, reside, residence. And then abide is stay, remain, not to depart, to continue to be present, to be held, kept continually, to remain as one, not to become another or different. So if we have those as understandings while we get into this, maybe some of these verses that we'll talk about, it will bring a greater and a deeper and a better revelation for you. And so we get right into this. Let's look at John. So the book of John, New Testament, starts out in Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, chapter 15 at the beginning. And remember, all of those little numbers that are in throughout the chapter are verses, and the chapter and the verse and all that wasn't there when they wrote it, but it's there to be able to help us find stuff. So like this one, I can say, all right, let's go to John chapter 15. We're going to look at verses 1 through 10 and go from there. Let's look and see what this says. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to read all this without stopping and us chatting about it. So just forewarning you. So let's get into this here. Let's see. John chapter 15, starting in verse 1. So here's Jesus. He says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he prunes so that it may bear more fruit. All right, if we pause real quick right there, it's always understood that when it says he prunes it so that it will bear more fruit, we understand, we've been taught, we've had the explanation that this pruning is just like on a fruit tree. If you have one branch and it has, let's just say, 10 blossoms on it, well, if you go and you prune 5 of them, take them off, that means that the nutrients that are coming into that branch now, there'll be more nutrients that go to the 5 remaining blossoms. So then your fruit then would be better because of that. And that's what this verse is taught as. At least that's been my experience. But when I looked at it, that word prunes, it also can mean, which I believe it means in this verse here, to support, to lift up. Hey, Gordon, sir. Blessings and salutations, sir. Glad you could join. Let's see, I've been working to do this when I see the first comment, the first hello. And so John 15 verse 2, when it says that he prunes it so that it may bear more fruit, we go, in the world I understand that means he's going to cut some things out of my life, because that's how it's done in the world. You prune a tree. Here's the challenge. Most times, the way that it's done in the world is not how it's done in heaven. It is not done in heaven that same way. And in this verse, he goes, I did a teaching on it, I think a few years ago now. What happens is, if you're the branch and you're kind of not quite all connected to the vine, this verse says instead of him pruning it off, what he does is that he brings it back together. And that produces more fruit, because now you're more connected to the vine. So that's that little side note on here. Abide and dwell. We could make that fit, but I think it does okay. All right, now let's continue on. So John 15, let's look at verse 3, and I'm just going to read verse 3. This should clear up a whole bunch of stuff for a lot of people. Here it says, you are already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you. Wait a minute. You are already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you. What? So, in life, if my hands are dirty and you speak to me and you go, you now have clean hands, what's the likelihood that my hands are actually clean then? About 0. Because if they're dirty and you speak to me and say that they're clean, it doesn't wash my hands. But in our minds, what happens then is we connect what happens in the natural, in the world, and try to apply it to the things in heaven. So here, says that you're already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you. We kind of gloss over this. But keep it in mind that now we're spiritual. And now I can be clean. You are clean. Not because you washed up. Because that, washing up, use a little soap, get all that. That is by you getting yourself clean. That doesn't happen just by words spoken. So we take that thinking and go, all right, I need to be clean. So now I need to clean up my life in the same kind of way that I would clean my hands, that I would wash the dirt off my hands. Instead, verse 3, he says, you are already clean. And who is this talking again? Oh, that's right, it was Jesus. So he says, you are already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you. So now I get to be clean. You get to be clean, not because of your action, but because of your belief in what he spoke. Excuse me. You are clean because God says so. That's why you're clean. I hear you. I just heard you. You said, well, yeah, but if he cleans me, then I should. Once I get dirty, then it's up to me to clean myself. No. All right, Gordy says, in the Greek, prunes also means he cleans. I love it. So now I am clean. So I've been pruned. If you want something to leave you, the dirt has left you in the pruning. The icky. Guilt, shame, and condemnation. And we could go down the road of the fact that Christ has circumcised your sinful flesh from you. So that removal, but different time, different teaching, which I did a little while ago. So keep in mind, you are already clean. Not because of you washing your hands, not because of the stuff that you have done or have not done. That hasn't made you clean. You are already clean. Why? Because of the word which I have spoken to you. Now, on our side of it is to believe it. That's it. Might that change how you live life? Maybe. But we can't use that as an indicator. What we use as the indicator is what God says. And what God says here is Jesus says you're already clean. Done. Okay, let's move on. So now it says, verse 4, it says, abide in me and I in you. What? So abide. How about stay, remain, not to depart, to continue to be present, to be held, kept continually. Abide in me. Continue to be present in me. To be held in me. And On top of that, not only are you abiding in me, but I am also abiding in you. So I am to stay, to remain, not to depart, to continue to be present. Abide in me, and I in you. Whew. Okay, we'll keep going here. As a branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine, so neither can you unless you abide in me. This is nothing to do with your action or inaction. This is nothing to do with what church you go to, how much you read your Bible, how often you pray. It has everything to do with who are you connected to. Where do you dwell? Where do you abide? You know, well, Todd, if you really were a Christian, if you were abiding in Christ, then, excuse me. Yep, Gary says it's about being, not doing. That's right. I am being. I am abiding in these verses. I am abiding in Christ. Abide in me, and not only that do I abide in him, but he abides in me. To stay, to remain, not to depart, to continue to be present, to be held, to be kept continually, to remain as one, not to become another or different. Okay, verse 5. I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me, and I in him, he bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. If anyone does not abide in me, he is thrown away as a branch and dries up. And they gather them and cast them into the fire and they are burned. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, so if this is where you are, and you can say, well, I don't know that I really. Our job is to believe that we are because he said so. Period. He said so, so you are. And then he says, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. My Father is glorified by this, that you bear much fruit, and so prove to be my disciples. Just as the Father has loved me, I have also loved you. Abide in my love. Now, verse 10. This one is going to trip some of you up. I know it has. Verse 10 says, if you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. You go, well, Todd, there it is. If you keep my commandments, what are his commandments? Well, the 10 commandments. Let's just go there. Let's not even talk about the whole 613. Let's just whittle it down to the 10. Let's do the 10 and all will be good and right because it says so right here. I'm going to say pull up on the reins a little bit. Take your foot off the gas. Slide it over. Press it down on the brake nice and slow. turn your hazard lights on. We're gonna go over to the side of the road here. Slow this down. Now we're talking about abiding and dwelling. These 10 verses are talking about abiding in Christ. And he uses the example, the illustration of us being a branch that's connected to the vine. And we need to have that connection in order to produce anything that's worth anything. And then he says, if you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will stay, you will remain, you will continue to be present in my love. You will be held in my love. You will be kept continually in my love. You will remain as one in my love. If the caveat to it is, if you keep my commandments. And so then we go to, what are the 10 commandments? And let's make sure we don't break them. Unfortunately, that's not what this is. It's not. That's not it. If we go through this, verse 10 says, so Jesus says, if you keep my commandments. All right, so Jesus says, if you keep my commandments. And now we go a little bit further. He says, now understand, just as I have kept my Father's commandments. My commandments, my Father's commandments. You say, well, they're one because they're God, the Father and the Son are one, and so those commandments are one. If he was talking about the 10 commandments and all of the 613, everything that Jesus had followed, if he was talking about that, wouldn't he have said, if you keep my Father's commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love? There's a big difference between my commandments and my Father's commandments. I hear you're going, all right, well then what's Jesus' commandments if it's not the 10 commandments, which I still believe that it is, but you tell me differently. I hear you. See? I know. I gotcha. You know what? It would be so nice if it said somewhere, oh, let's just see, shall we? Where could it possibly say, without us taking it out of context, where possibly could it have anything to do with telling us a secret of what Jesus would say would be his commandment? We're in John 15, verse 10. How about we go to verse 12? Yep. It's almost in the same breath. Because sometimes one verse could be different. There could be days that have passed from one verse to the next. Whole different group of people that are being talked to. Not in this case. Still talking to the same people. Verse 12 says, this is my commandment. Well, that lines up pretty darn good with what he's saying here. If you keep my commandments. You go, well, Todd, there's an S there instead of it being singular. Don't get hung up on that. I am fairly confident that verse 12 answers what he's talking about. What does it say? Oh, John 15 verse 12 says, "This is my commandment, that you love one another, just as I have loved you." Now, in the Ten Commandments, does it say anything like that? That's right, Gordy. Love each other. I don't think that the Ten Commandments have that. Even when it says that you should love God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength, and your neighbor as yourself, that's impossible as well. Just like the Ten Commandments. You go, well, the Ten Commandments aren't impossible because I've kept the Ten Commandments. And I'm getting kind of old, and I've kept them since I was just a youngin'. Remember, when you live in that performance-based life, it's not only the action that you take, but the thoughts that you have. I have a very high degree of confidence that you have fallen short, even in just the Ten Commandments when you group. Come on. Yeah. Gordy says, without an agenda, without an expectation, but right where they are, just as you were, met where you were, and loved. Come on. That's some wise words. So if we look back at John 15:10, it says, if you keep my commandments, the commandment that Jesus has, you will abide in my love. And then he says, here's the thing. He says, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. Ours is a whole lot easier. He listed out, this is love. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not boastful. Love does not brag. Love does not take into account a wrong suffered. Let's do that instead of attempting to do the impossible with following all of the rules and regulations. Because now our fundamental principle, come on, the fundamental principle of life has changed from performance to love. Curtis says, don't be a noisy gong. That's a true word right there. Yep. I can do all these things, but if I don't have love, well, then I'm nothing. I'm all I am is a noisy gong, a noisy cymbal. It does nothing. It carries no weight. Okay, abide and dwell. Hopefully you got, just out of those 10 verses, hopefully you got something that you can take and apply. We're going to keep going because I've got many more verses I want to kind of hit and cover, talking about this abide and dwell. To inhabit, to house permanently, to be continue to be present, to be held, to be kept continually. So then we have all of these things when we're talking, when we read a verse that says dwell. Let's look at Acts 17, verse 24. It says, the God who made the world and all the things in it, since he is Lord of heaven and earth, does not dwell in temples made with hands. Huh. So when we think about surely God dwells in this church, if he does, that's an old covenant thinking. I don't want that, because then it's still based on my performance. And I'm telling you right now, there isn't a person around that can achieve that level. Nope. Nope. He does not dwell in temples, in churches, in our case, for thinking about what this is. Made with hands. Now, might he be there? Absolutely. Why would he be there? How could he be there? He's there if you're there. He's there if I'm there. Because where I go, so does he. Where you go, he goes too. And that isn't for a guilt, shame, condemnation, anything like that. There is peace and comfort with that, or should be. And so with this, the fact that, God, who made the world and all things, he does not dwell in temples made with hands. Because where does he dwell? Well, if we go to 1 Corinthians 3:16, it says, do you not know that you are a temple of God? And that the Spirit of God dwells in you? Dwells. What does dwell? Oh, to inhabit, to house permanently, to live, to reside, a residency. Rossi! Come on, man. Look at all it. We're just being blessed by all of these wonderful people that are tuning in live. Oh, man. What an encouragement. Rossi, my friend, hope everything is going well with you and in your travels, sir. So in 1 Corinthians 3:16, it says that we are the temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells in us. So dwell. Inhabits, to house permanently, to live, to reside, residence. My guess is, and I'm not going on a very far out on a limb on this one, is it's hard for most even, people to be able to accept that as a truth. Well, God's not dwelling in me because I have wrong thoughts and bad thoughts, and I did this action wrong, and I should have done this, but I didn't do this, and I did eventually halfway kinda do something good, but I really should have did it sooner and did more and right? I'm telling you, that's what's going on in your head. Hopefully that continues to leave your brain, because all of that thinking is all performance. It's all do good, get good, do bad, get bad. I need to perform in order to have. Rossi, man, I'm telling you, we just read those verses. They're in John 15. Verse 7. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you. So that's John 15, verse 7. So, yep. So, we have this. Come on. See? When we can accept that he dwells in us and that we dwell in him, in order for you to really accept that as even a remote possibility, you need to get past the fact that you screw up sometimes. Because you do screw up sometime. Everybody does. It's just that some people are better at hiding it. Because again, remember, it's not just doing with your hands and stuff that you can see, it's also thought. And so that isn't what we focus on. What we get to accept is, what did he say? What does he continue to say? Remember verse 3, John 15, verse 3. You are already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you. And there's another verse right now, I don't remember where it is, I don't remember the address, but it says, what God has cleaned, no longer consider dirty. So there is that. So if you've washed your own hands to get the dirt off of them, well, then they're going to get dirty again. But if they're clean because God says they're clean, there isn't any more that has to be done. Let's look at... No, we're not going to do Romans. 1 Corinthians. See, yep. He has already done it. He says, I am in you. Abide in me and I in you. What is it? The Spirit dwells in us. We have this. We need to accept, believe, receive this. Have faith that God is in you. He abides in you. He resides in you. Because remember some of the definitions. To continue to be present, to be held, kept continually, to remain as one, not to depart. That's what God is telling each one of us. He has done it through Christ. Our part in that is to believe what he says. It's always been our part. From the beginning of time. Mankind, their part in a relationship with God is to believe what God says. Period. And yet here we are, thousands of years later, still trying to do to get. It's crazy. Let's look at a couple of the verses here. You've got 1 Corinthians 13, which is the love chapter, right? You go, if you need to understand, everybody should continually go to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, read what it says about what love is. And then read it again. Because that's where love at least starts. Is it all encompassing? I don't know that you really have to worry about that because you're not even having a grasp on that, much less anything more than that. If you have anything more than that without what it says in 1 Corinthians 13 for love, you're way off base. And the love that you're showing is control and manipulation, not love. I hear you. You think that, well, Todd, that's your opinion. That we can have a conversation about it, but if you don't have the foundation of what God says love is, and your understanding of love is not using that as a foundation, then you're saying that you have a better understanding of what love is than God, when God is love. So 1 Corinthians 13, verse 13, it says, but now faith, hope, love, abide, these three. But the greatest of these is love. Abide, stay, remain. Do not part, to continue to be present in faith, hope, and love. And if you can't do all three, if you're not doing the hat trick, if you're not doing the trifecta, the greatest one is love. Okay, for those of us that wish to still perform, let's read Galatians 3:10 and see how that's going to work out for us when we want to go down that road. Galatians chapter 3 verse 10, it says, for as many as are of the works of the law are under a curse. What? For it is written, cursed is everyone who does not abide by all things written in the book of the law to perform them. What's Rossi saying here? I love you, Todd. I love everyone that's on this live feed and who will be watching when this live feed ends. I love you, but I don't have to see to love you. Come on, Rossi. I love you too, man. So I hear some of you after we read Galatians 3:10 and says, well, but Jesus, I have Jesus now. So in the things that I fall short in, he'll pick me up in those areas, but it's still a good idea to follow when you use your barometer as the law. You cannot use love as your barometer. And which one is going to win? Which one has won? Which one will win? Love. Every time. Which one will fail? The law. Every time. Here it says that you're under a curse. Why? Because cursed is everyone who does not abide. What? What? Cursed is everyone who does not abide. What? Stay, remain, not depart, continue, kept continually to everyone who does not abide by all things written in the book of the law to perform them. Let's not do that. How about instead we interact with people not based on this performance thing, but based on love? Love does not mean that you get walked on, that you are used as a doormat. That's not love. Love, come on. That's right. Love covers a multitude of sins. See, you've got love is, I'm not going to be in your life because it's going to be better if I'm not. Your life is going to be better if I'm not. You go, well, no, Todd, I'm in this abusive relationship, and if I don't stay, the other person is really going to fall apart. So I'm just going to take the abuse because, I'm a Christian, and, we're not supposed to leave, and we got all. No. When you act as with love as your foundation, because you don't have to be like Jesus, who was beaten beyond recognition as a person, to perform your life in love. He did that for a specific reason, for all of mankind, and that was under the law. Now we are no longer under the law, and when you're in this in a situation where you are mentally, physically, emotionally, um, sexually, whatever, if you're abused, you, if at all possible, should remove yourself from that situation. You should not abide there. You should not dwell there. Come on, love don't hurt people. People hurt people. See, I can hurt you 7 ways from Sunday when I look at you, when I interact with you based on performance. But when I interact with you with the foundation of love, then there isn't any way that you can get hurt. So, with that, let's keep moving on because there's so much here. So, let's not, for as many as are of the works of the law, are under a curse. Let's not be under a curse because we have a better way. Our better way is in Christ. We are to abide in him and he abides in us. We'll just touch on Ephesians 2, verses 19 through 22. It says, so then you are no longer strangers and aliens, but you are fellow citizens with the saints and are of God's household, having been built on the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Christ Jesus himself being the cornerstone, in whom the whole building, being fitted together, is growing into a holy temple in the Lord, in whom you also are being built together into a dwelling of God in the Spirit. Woo-hoo! And none of that is based on your action. It's based on your belief that that is where you are, that you are a part of that. All of this construction that's going on in verses 19 through 22, once you believe that you're a part of that, well, then that might prompt you to do things. Absolutely, yes. It might prompt you to give money to this place or to this organization or to this teacher or this church or this whatever across the world, whatever. All good and right. When it's done through love and not through performance, not through trying to earn your way or trying to keep your position in the family. Both of those, earning and retaining, both screwed up and wrong because you didn't earn it in the first place. You received it as a free gift. Such a good verse. Hey, look at this. Let's talk about one of the verses that I put for tonight. Abide and dwell. Let's look at Philippians 4 verse 8. So, let's see. Dwell, to settle, to inhabit, to house permanently, to live, to reside. Have your residence. To dwell. Okay. Here's Philippians 4 verse 8. It says, finally, brethren, whatever is true, Jesus. He says, I am the truth, Jesus. Okay, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is of good repute, if there is any excellence, and if anything worthy of praise, dwell on these things. Dwell, inhabit, house permanently, live, reside, take up residence in these things. Whatever is true. You don't go, Todd, I was riding with you in your car and the speed limit was 55 and I seen your speedometer say 56. That's a truth. You broke the law and you went 56. No. Whatever is true. What is true? Jesus is enough. What he did is enough. Who he is true. What he did is true. What he continues to do today is true. Whatever is true, that's what we are to dwell on. Not, I'm going to catch you doing something bad, and then I can say, see, this is true. It's true that you... whatever. Because understand, when you do that, you actually condemn yourself. Because somewhere in your body, you know, even if you did not do that same exact thing, what you're doing is you broke a rule, a law that God has. And deep down you say you actually know that you've broken it as well. And so you condemn yourself when you point those things out in other people. But whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, come on. Whatever is right, whatever is pure. Let's see. Pure, whatever is pure. Pure. God has made us pure. God has made us holy. Come on. Back to me. So God has made you pure. So whatever is pure. Let's see, is your life pure? You go, well, no, it's not pure because had this wrong thought. I didn't read my Bible enough. I didn't pray the right prayers. No, no. Whatever is pure, dwell on these things. Right? Think about these things. When we dwell, I want to take up residency in these things. This is now where I should be, where you should be living your life from. We are to dwell. We are to permanently live. That is when we have this as an understanding of where we are coming from, it's a whole lot easier to help somebody else. To meet them where they are and not try to bring them to where what your level is. Your level is squat. I'm just saying. Because the level that you're at when you think you're all that, that really means that you're not anywhere that I want to be. But when you understand that you abide in God and He abides in you, now that's a place I want to go to. That's a place that draws my heart to be there as well. That whole different deal. Because now we're not talking about levels, and we're not looking at, well, once you achieve this. See, yeah. We go through stuff. Everybody goes through stuff. And we can talk with people that are in situations that we have not experienced and have them receive us when we come to them from this standpoint of I abide in God and God abides in me, and that's where God wants you to be as well. When we can understand that sin is sin, all sin is sin. There isn't worse sin, less sin, white collar sin, just different levels, the moral sins, all of this crap that has been developed by supposedly godly people. It's just a bunch of, it's just wrong. Because it's, okay, it's just wrong. All right, all right. So we are to dwell on all of these things that it says in Philippians 4, verse 8. Another verse. The other verse that I picked for this one. James chapter 1 verse 25. It says, "But the one who looks intently at the perfect law, the law of liberty, and abides by it." Abides by it. Abides by what is the it? The perfect law, the law of liberty. Abides by it, not having become a forgetful hearer, but an effectual doer. This man, this person, will be blessed in what that person does. God didn't just tell us to change our thinking and to renew our mind. He told us what to think about. See, we have this freedom. We get to have this. So here it says, once you're presented with the perfect law, because everybody wants a law, give me something to follow, give me this structure, until I can really accept it, I need to be able to. So here's the perfect law. It's the law of liberty. We go, no, you know what? I'm going to change liberty to liberty isn't just freedom. Liberty still has a constructive box to be put into because it needs to have all. No, freedom is free. Dumb. Freedom. Liberty. Freedom. The law of freedom. The law of liberty. I would venture quite a great amount that if we were to take a poll individually, so nobody is embarrassed, every person still has boundaries, conditions, ditches, curbs, fences for their perfect law of liberty. With the Spirit of the Lord, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty. There is freedom. Come on. Unfortunately, everybody that I have talked to all right, so this deal with Rossi commented about, listening to Steve Harvey. He was telling his testimony. His mom was on her deathbed, and she told him that he was going to have a mansion on the hill one day, but didn't forget to tell people how to get up there. I think last week, let's see if I can find it quick. Yeah. All right. Ross says God can't renew our minds. It's something that we have to do. That's right. But when we renew our minds, we're renewing them. We're making them new and not using the things of this world as our definition, but the things of God. So he says, believe me. So when we renew our mind, we are discarding, well, this is how the world has always done this. This is my understanding of what this looks like and how this happens. And so now I'm going to renew it and I'm going to replace my worldly thinking with heavenly thinking instead, with godly thinking instead. And typically it does not look like the way that the world did it, the way that the world does it. So in this saying, that we have to tell people how to get there, we'll chase this rabbit and then we'll get back to this. In John 14, 1-3, Jesus says, don't let your heart be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me. In my Father's house are many dwelling places. If it were not so, I would have told you. For I go to prepare a place for you. Now, if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may also be. So understand, Jesus does not say, okay, people, I'm going, and now it's your job to figure out how to get to where I am. I'll prepare a place for you. It'll be great. It'll be wonderful. It's just great. Now you get to where I am. No, he says, I'm going to go and do this, and now understand, I will be back for you. I will put my arm around you. I will hold your hand. We will link arms, however you want to do it. And then I will walk with you to the place that I have already prepared for you, so that you can dwell in this place. Our job is to believe that what he has said is right. That's where we find rest, because I'd be all screwed up in the head. They say, all right, yep, God's got this great place for you. Now it's going to be your job to figure out the map. First, find the map, and then figure it all out. And this is a little treasure hunt thing. So now you need to make sure that you pick up all of the right pieces, that you do all of the right things. So then once you get to the place, then you can show him everything that you've collected on the way. Make sure you don't miss any. And then that will get you in there. No. He says, I'm going to go, and then I'm going to come back for you, and then we can go there together. Okay. So we have freedom. And in James 1:25, it says, the one who looks intently at the perfect law, the law of liberty, and abides by it, not having become a forgetful hearer, but an effectual doer. This man is blessed in what he does. This person is blessed in what they do. So when you hear, when you're presented with this perfect law, this law of liberty, but then you interact with somebody and you still seek to interact with them based on performance, based on the thing that they're doing wrong or the thing that they're not doing right, you are a forgetful hearer. Because you heard, it's a free gift. It is freely given to you so that no person can boast. So in your life, in your relationship with God, is there something that you're saying that you could say? God gave me this because of what I have done. I hope not. I know for some of you that's the case. You think that because you have done this, then you've achieved this level of spirituality within the kingdom, within the family. Or you've been given this, so now you need to maintain this level of perfection in your own personal life, because if you don't, it will be removed from you. And let me tell you from experience, churches do that. And when they do that, eventually you can come to the conclusion that you can be thankful that they took it from you, because it wasn't from God in the first place. Because if God gave it to you, he gave it to you as a free gift, and he's not taking it back. You get to dwell there. You get to abide there. Not because of your performance. Get over yourself. You get to abide there. You get to dwell there because of the performance that Christ has done. What Jesus did, that's the performance. Stop trying to live up to the performance that he did. I mean, really. Run that through your head a little bit, just a few times. You start to sound like Satan, like Lucifer, before he was kicked out of heaven. He says, I will ascend to the height to the throne that God sits on. my performance, I will achieve what God, the level that God has for me to freely receive. I will show him that I am good enough to achieve it and receive it on my own. And when he did that, God said, that's enough, you're out. So why you would want to do that for yourself is beyond me. So instead, in James 1:25, he says, I have received the good news, the too good to be true good news. That is the gospel. It's too good to be true good news. We are to believe that what Jesus did is enough. It's enough for you, for your past, for your present, and for your future. That's it. So now we take that perfect law, that law of liberty, and now when we're an effectual doer, that's not works. Now what happens is when I'm an effectual doer, I believe that what Jesus did is enough. So now I take that and I become an effectual doer. When I interact with you in your life, right in the middle of your screwing up big time, and I bring love. Love sometimes comes with a yardstick when you gotta smack 'em, or a 2x4. No, baloney. That's a no. And if that's the case for you, then I'm not the person to explain to you who God is. Because to me, that's not love. I don't see that anywhere in 1 Corinthians 13 as explaining what love is. So when I am an effectual doer, I come into your life and I represent, I bring to you, I serve to you on a platter the perfect law, the law of liberty, this freedom to love you, even in your stupid chaos. I is a bad word. Because when we love, it's an outward thing. Now we should love ourselves, and that's a whole other deal. So now I'm an effectual doer. You're an effectual doer when you interact with people in love, because it is showing, it is revealing, that's a better word, it is revealing that you understand that you abide in God and God abides in you. You're not burying your head in the sand. You're not looking the other way. You know, you're going to take precautions. If somebody that you're going to be around no, we're not going to go there. All right. Okay. Let's see. Let's hit this one, and then we'll see if we're going to wrap this thing up. We'll see. One more verse here, and then we'll see from there. In 1 John 2:28, it says, now little children, abide in him, so that when he appears, we may have confidence and not shrink away from him in shame at his coming. If you understand that you abide in him, this guilt, shame, condemnation is now gone, because it's not based on your performance. You abide in him because he said so. That's why. You believe that what he said is right. It's real. It is the truth, because he is the truth. And he says that you abide in me and I abide in you. And when you do that, you get to abide in my love. And then life comes from that as a foundation. If we're not understanding that we abide in him, and then he shows up, more than likely, you're going to be hovering in the corner hoping that he doesn't make eye contact with you. You're shrinking away because you're feeling that guilt, shame, and condemnation for those things that you didn't perform as well as you should have. Or you can be standing there all arrogant and puffed up going, pick me, look at me, because I am the one you should pick. Understand that if you're like that, you're not getting picked. Well, D, look at this. Now that D's here, now we can get started. I've just been saying hello up to this point. I know some of you are like, what? No, it's already been so long. Well, Shelly, Kevin, what a blessing. Yep, see, you don't have to be prophetic to know that D's all in if I just get started now. But no, I'm looking at starting to land this, so we'll see. But what we've got is in 1 John 2:28, if we don't accept the fact that we abide in him. What's abide? Stay, remain, not to depart, to continue to be present in him, to be held in him, to be kept continually in him, to remain as one in him, not to become another or different. So when we abide in Christ, well, then when he shows up, we're not going to be freaked out about it. Some of you could be like, woo-hoo, let's dance, let's have a party because now Jesus is here. But I think for the most part, we're at least somewhat concerned. Well, I sure hope that he doesn't see this part, or I sure hope that this part. When we abide in him, it's no longer based on our performance. It is based on his performance. And when we believe that his performance is enough, come on, yeah, let's dance. See, we can have this dance party now. Because if he abides in you and you abide in him, okay, if that is actually what is going on right now, how is it a bigger deal when he shows up? Because you're already one with him. It's not blasphemy. It's not, what other word are you using? It's not heresy. It's not sacrilegious. I'm just saying. If you and I, so if you and I are one, if we are one, and then we walk into the same room, how is that better? Something to think about. Because when we can accept that, we're not going to shrink away in shame at his appearing. Okay, one last chunk of verses. I really like 1 John 3, verses 4 through 10, but let's go to 1 John 4, verses 7 through 13. It says, "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God, and everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. The one who does not love does not know God, for God is love. By this the love of God was manifested in us, that God sent his only begotten Son into the world so that we might live through him. In this is love, not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son to be the propitiation for our sins." That isn't you doing good, you cleaning up your own mess, you causing a mess, and then, no, this is Jesus is the propitiation. He is the cleaner upper. He is all of that you're trying to do on your own. Verse 11, "Beloved, if God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. No one has seen God at any time. If we love one another, God abides in us, and his love is perfected in us. By this we know we abide in him, and he in us." Now I want to pause right there. Come on. Woohoo! Yep, good to have you chiming in, Kevin. All right, so we've been talking about him abiding in us, us abiding in him. This is where we should abide. Remember, abide. When we hear abide, to stay, to remain, not to depart, to continue to be present, to be held, kept continually, to remain as one, not to become another or different. So, abide. What is this? Verse 12. Let's see, going on. Verse 13. By this, by what? I'll get to that. By this, good evening, brother. I hope you're faring the storm well. A shield, a bubble of protection over you and around you. And Shelley. And all that is yours. Because I think it happened yesterday, but still. Maybe today for where you guys are. But anyway. It says, by this we know that we abide in him and he in us. So now, again, I'm pausing right there. I'm stopping right there for a moment. Because he says, by this. And then I'll tell you what this is. But by this thing that I'm going to tell you, everyone is to know that we abide in God and that God abides in us. By this thing that I'm going to tell you. Here it is. Because he has given us of his Spirit. Now, who can draw from that we will know that you abide in God and God abides in you if you attend the right church on the right day of the week. I know that you abide in God and God abides in you by how much money, how much time, how much of your energy and effort and resources you give away, whether it be to a church or a different organization. That's how I will know. I will know if you abide in God and God abides in you if you don't swear. I will know if you abide in God and God abides in you if you celebrate certain holidays or don't celebrate certain holidays. I will know if you abide in God and God abides in you if you wear certain clothing. If you know the secret handshake. If you... No. See, there isn't any. There's none of that. It says, how will we know? We will know because God has given us of His Spirit. You're like, God, that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, exactly. Because you're using your worldly thinking to understand heavenly things. That will mess you up more times than you get it right. Instead, we renew our minds. We remove a worldly understanding of how something works and how we should do things, and we replace it, we renew our mind, our thinking with heavenly things. In this case, we know that we abide in Him and He in us because He has given us of His Spirit. That's how we know. Well, okay, so that means that if I don't speak in tongues, then I'm not abiding in Him. No, that's just one of the evidences, because we need. Come on, D. Thanks. That's speaking in tongues is not the only thing. The 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 main thing, the most important thing to understand about if we have the Spirit. How about because He said so? Where? Well, we covered that just a little while ago. 1 Corinthians 3:16 says, "Do you not know that you are a temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells in you?" That should be enough. So now, by this, verse 3, 1 John 4, verse 13 says, "By this we know that we abide in Him and He in us, because He, God has given us of His Spirit." That is how we know that we abide in Him and He abides in us. We dwell in the house of the Lord. Dwell, abide, to settle, to inhabit, to house permanently, to live, to reside, had to be residence. How about to stay, to remain, not to depart, to continue to be present, to be held. I am to be held in him, and he is to be held in me. I am to be kept continually in him. I like that one because that isn't of my effort. And he is to be kept continually in me. And that's by his strength again, not mine. We are to remain as one, abide. So now we understand that we abide in God and God abides in us. Not because we're all that in a slice of bread, all that in a bag of chips, all that in a piece of pie. We have this because he's given us of his Spirit. Again, free gift. So that no one can boast. When you start spouting stuff off, that's stuff that you're boasting in. Now, it's one thing to go, I want to tell you about an experience that I had. I was able to pray for this person, and they received the healing right then. I was able to speak a word of encouragement to this person, and it was spot on, and I had never met them before. I went through and I did the drive-through difference, and I paid for the car behind me. I don't do a lot of that because many people receive it as boasting. Come on, Rossi. Todd, you pop flavor and drip sauce, baby. Oh, man. All right. I don't do that. Not because stuff doesn't happen in life. I mean, it does. But when it's right, I share it. And it's not to say, look at me. It is, this is what a Christian life looks like. This is normal. People get all freaked out and just, they're mind blown by things that should be a part of everyday Christian life. And now I don't say that to guilt, shame, condemn you if it's not happening in your life. Because again, that's not how this works. I'm just saying that those things are possible. Those things are available. And first, we need to be in the right place so that when we do them, we can receive the attaboys and the accolades, and the praise that can come from those things, and not have us get prideful and not have us run off the tracks and crash the car. Because when somebody says, good job, way to go, and you can receive that and go, thanks, I'm glad that it meant something to you. I'm glad that it spoke to you. I'm glad that you could receive that. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I'm glad that it was beneficial to you. When you can do that and not receive that and get all puffed up, what you're hearing when you receive those is they recognize that I abide in God and that God abides in me. That's what they're seeing. That's what they're receiving. That's what they are experiencing. Well, there's no pride that can be in that. You can feel good about it, but there's no pride in it because you weren't the one that got you there in the first place. And if you think you are, you're in the wrong place. With that, I hope this was helpful. I hope this was something that has encouraged you and that you can take and apply to your life right now. That it it develops your relationship between you and God and you, and that now that you can see God in a different light. Come on, Rossi. I'm just telling you, man. When you have this, hopefully you can you receive this, and it is expanding your understanding of how much God loves you and all that He has done for you. That you don't work for a relationship. You don't work to retain, to maintain a relationship with Him. And thus, you don't work to obtain, retain, maintain a relationship between other believers. Because as a believer, I represent God. You represent God. Jesus says, as I am, so are you in this world. As I am, where I am, how I am, who I am, as I am, so are you with you still being in this world. So now you can receive that you dwell in the house of the Lord, that you abide in God and God abides in you. And then as you have that as a foundational principle of the world of your life, if that is one of those principles, it is a unshakable foundation. When you live life, you will live it differently, even if your life is the same. So with that, I just want to throw out there that next week, we all celebrate 5 years of doing this. 5 years ago next week, we opened our home. 5 years next week, I started doing these teachings online. They were much shorter back then. Is what it is. Maybe they'll get short again. Probably not. But 5 years next year. So we'll just keep on going until I'm directed to do no more. But as of right now, thank you, Dee. As of right now, we're going to keep going. Every week, we talk about whatever it is. It's never the same. Even though last week we talked about Home Sweet Home, we talked about some of these the same type of thing about dwelling, abiding, abode, and yet this week's teaching is very different than last week's teaching. And that's how it's been for the last 5 years. Come on. All right. So everyone, I thank you for watching this live. I thank you for all of the comments. I thank you for the shares, for all the reactions. I'm greatly encouraged by that. And hopefully you will return and you'll see next week's as well. And thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Kevin and Rossi and Dee, Gordy, Shelly, just everybody. I'm guessing I met Bob, Irma. What a blessing everyone is in my life. I thank you. And so with that, hopefully this has been an encouragement for you. And I know you can know that you have been an encouragement for me, to me. And even I'm talking to you guys that you're watching this after, so not live. you're an encouragement to me as well. So thank you. Shane? All sorts of, so anyways, I'm not going to keep naming. Bless you and Marianne. Thank you, Dee. Okay, with that, I will be here next week. It's going to be a good one. I'm just saying. 5-year anniversary. So, thanks again for tuning in, everyone. And we will see you next time. All right. Bye now.